Right, hi everybody. Okay, so we're going to have a go at doing a reading lesson virtually. Okay, obviously you've seen some of our videos on writing and we've done a little bit of, I know Miss Drew's done a little bit of science, but we're going to try doing some reading. So it's Miss Shuttleworth saying hi, and I've got Miss Addison here to help me as well.
Hello, Miss Shuttleworth. Hi everybody, I hope you're okay and you're having a good day at home.
Okay, so the text we are having a look at today is called The Railway Children by E. Nesbit. Okay, now this is quite a traditional story, like it's quite an old story, which some of you may have been aware of. I know I read it as a child, but it's one of those ones that you may not have come across. So we're going to have a look at it. So first of all, obviously looking at the front cover, we know it's called The Railway Children, so it must have something to do with the railway. And you've got the image of a train and then children very sillily standing on a train track.
Yeah, I don't think that's the most sensible thing to be doing.
No, but then they're waving flags and things, so that makes me think that something goes wrong or there's something bad.
It's making me think that, yeah, it's making me feel that there's a problem on the train track and they're trying to stop the train.
Well, we'll find out if we ever read the book. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the first chapter. If my PowerPoint wants to move. Okay, so it starts with Peter had a birthday, his 10th. Among his presents was a model engine, more perfect than you could ever have dreamed of. Okay, so we've got Peter, who I'm assuming is this little boy in the picture, sitting with his dad, and he is given a model engine for his birthday. So that kind of makes me think, obviously this is quite an old time story, so it makes me think of maybe one of those sort of steam engines, not like a train track you get now with your sort of brio that goes along, but one of those old steam engines that you could make run. I don't know.
Do you know what I'm thinking as well, Miss Shuttleworth? I'm thinking, why is it more perfect? Like, why is it more perfect than anything else?
Maybe it's a really, really fancy one, or maybe it's because he's wanted one for so long that it's just the most perfect thing he's ever gotten.
It's interesting.
Okay, so the other presents were full of charm, but the engine was fuller of charm than any of the others were. Now that's quite a long, complicated sentence, isn't it? Yeah. So the other presents were full of charm. So it's not the only present he's received on his birthday, but the engine was fuller of charm. So that makes me think that although he got other things, this was the best thing he got. This was his favourite.
It was most special to him, yeah.
Yeah, and the one he must have wanted for so long. Okay. Its charm lasted in its full perfection for exactly 3 days.
Very specific, isn't it?
Yeah. Now that makes me think something's gone very wrong here. Because it talks about its full perfection. So it's absolutely perfect for exactly 3 days. And then something happened that meant it was no longer perfect.
I wonder what's happened.
Who knows? I mean, looking at that picture, you can see something's gone quite wrong with that engine.
Looks like it's broken a little bit.
If you have a look at its wheels, nothing's gone very well. Okay. Then, owing either to Peter's inexperience or Phyllis's good intentions, which had been rather pressing, or to some other cause, the engine suddenly went off with a bang. Now, that is an extremely long, complicated sentence. So we're going to unpick that a little bit. So it says, owing either to Peter's inexperience or Phyllis's good intentions. So Phyllis is a character that's just been introduced. I'm going to assume that is Peter's sister.
I'm going to assume it's another child who's also been playing with it.
Yeah, because it says her good intentions.
Yeah, so maybe she was playing with it with a good intention, but perhaps she broke it.
Maybe, which makes me think she might be younger than Peter.
Yeah.
Because it's usually unfortunately, it's usually the younger siblings who try really hard to play with things and then they break. So Peter's inexperience, where he doesn't quite know what he's doing with it, or Phyllis, who we think is a younger sister who's gone and broken it, or some other cause, the engine suddenly went off with a bang. So now I'm thinking, that almost makes me think of an explosion.
Yeah.
Where sort of the motors exploded and the engines died.
And that's quite interesting as well, because I was picturing in my head quite an old-fashioned train, but now that they're saying the engine suddenly went off with a bang, maybe it could have some sort of movement to the toy.
Yeah, it's got some sort of motor or something to it, hasn't
Must be
it?
electrical in some way. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, so something's gone very wrong with this train. James was so frightened that he went out and did not come back all day. Okay, so we've got Peter and Phyllis. Who do we think James is, Miss Addison?
So at the beginning of the sentence, I was thinking James, maybe that would be another child, so in the family, but then was so frightened that he went out and did not come back all day. So perhaps that could be a cat, could be a pet, because he's so scared that he's gone out and he's not wanted to come home.
Okay, yeah, because it's unlikely to be a child if he didn't come back all day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that would be an older child and they're less likely to be frightened. Yeah, so a cat's a good idea there. Okay, all the Noah's Ark people who were in the tender were broken to bits, but nothing else was hurt except the poor little engine and the feelings of Peter. Now, I had to look up the word tender because I didn't know what that meant in this context, because obviously tender, if something is tender, it's sore, isn't it? But that didn't work in this context. So I had to look this up, and it's actually the cart that an engine pulls along. So usually it carries coal in it, but the tender is the cart bit behind the engine. So clearly Peter had put his toy Noah's Ark people in the cart of the engine, and unfortunately when the engine's blown up, they've all been broken to bits.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a major train accident in this situation, which
sounds like it's a real issue.
I know. But luckily nothing else was hurt, so the children weren't hurt in this explosion, which is good, apart from your little engine, and obviously Peter's going to be very upset that his brand new toy has broken after 3 days.
I mean, I would be extremely upset in this circumstance as well, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not gone well, has it? Okay,
No.
So father had been away in the country for 3 or 4 days. All Peter's hopes for the curing of his afflicted engine were now fixed on his father, for father was most wonderfully clever with his fingers. Okay, so you get the image that father was there for his birthday, because obviously it says he's had it for 3 days and then has gone away to the country. And Peter is really hoping that his father can fix this, because the curing of his afflicted engine means that he wants him to fix the problem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And his father is wonderfully clever with his fingers, means he's clearly had some experience of fixing toys in the past.
Maybe that could even be to do with his job as well. Maybe he's a fixer of some sort in his career as well.
Oh, maybe you've got a link to sort of his outside
could be an engineer
career.
Or something.
Yeah, or a doctor.
Oh yeah.
Okay, right. He could mend all sorts of things. He had often acted as veterinary surgeon to the wooden rocking horse. Once he had saved its life when all human aid was despaired of, and the poor creature was given up for lost, and even the carpenter said he didn't see his way to do anything. Okay, so again, you've got sort of a link to a surgeon or someone who's fixing things. So we've got a veterinary surgeon now, which is obviously...
Yeah, it's just explaining more about his father as well, isn't it, this paragraph?
Yeah, and it's got that sort of link to the fact the wooden rocking horse is obviously an animal. So
yeah,
we've got that link of the veterinary surgeon. And it just shows how very good his father is at fixing something, because it says he saved its life when all human aid was despaired of, so humans couldn't help. Poor creature was given up for lost, and even the carpenter who must have made it, if it was a wooden rocking horse, said he couldn't do anything, but the father could.
Must have been really damaged then.
Yeah, I wonder what he did to the rocking horse that meant it had been so good.
Yeah. Maybe he was too big for it, he'd outgrown it.
Oh, maybe. And just sort of squashed it. Okay, and it was father who mended his doll's cradle when no one else could, and with a little glue and some bits of wood and a penknife made all the Noah's Ark beasts as strong as their pins as ever they were, if not stronger.
Okay, it feels like this has happened multiple times as well. So it seems like a situation that they're, as a family, are quite used to, because quite a lot of his toys have broken in the past and have had to be fixed.
Yeah, which makes me think something about the children.
Yeah.
If he's having to fix all his toys at this point. I mean, if my kids kept bringing me toys.
Yeah, it kind of says something a bit about their character in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and sort of their care for their things. It seems like they're sort of a little overzealous in their playing. Yeah. Okay. Peter, with heroic unselfishness, did not say anything about his engine till after father had had his dinner and his after dinner cigar. So heroic unselfishness, that makes me think that Peter having to wait for his dad to have his dinner is a really, really difficult thing for him.
Yeah, he's almost sitting there ready to pounce on him.
Yeah, but he's sort of realised that actually if he asks him before dad has dinner and his cigar, then dad's not going to say no, isn't he? He's sort of biding his time.
He's probably fed up by now with all these things that he's had to fix.
That is true. That is very true. He's probably had enough of it.
Yeah.
The unselfishness was mother's idea, but it was Peter who carried it out, and it needed a good deal of patience too. Okay, so that's mum knowing dad very well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of saying, no, leave him until he's calmed down from after work, and then he will be more likely to do it. And I've sort of got this image of Peter sort of sitting on the edge of his chair at dinner going, oh, but I need to ask him.
Bit like us, Miss Shuttleworth.
Yeah, a little bit. That sort of impatience of what we want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. At last, mother said to father, now dear, if you're quite rested and quite comfy, we want to tell you about the great railway accident and ask your advice. Okay, so mother's sort of read the situation and decided that father is calm enough to hear their problem. And I like the link to a great railway accident. That almost sounds like it's an actual piece of news rather than a toy, doesn't it?
Yeah. They're making it into a real life situation, aren't they, rather than just a toy?
Yeah, which is probably how it feels to Peter, to be honest, because
yeah,
he's so invested in this toy. Bless him. Okay, all right, said father, fire away. Now, I've put this sentence as a sentence standing on its own because of the use of fire away, because the authors use that as a sort of dual meaning. Because obviously you've got fire away as in you would say that to someone if you want them to speak to you. So if they say, I've got a question, you say fire away. But also it then links to what has actually happened to the engine, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's exploded.
Yeah, sort of the explosion and fire is what's gone wrong. So then Peter told the sad tale and fetched what was left of the engine. Now the fact it says what was left makes me think that the picture isn't showing the amount of damage that was actually done to this engine. Because when it says what was left, I've got this sort of image of a sort of an engine that doesn't have much in the way of what it used to look like now.
It also shows how big the explosion was as well.
Yeah, which is quite lucky that no one else was hurt. If it was such
no wonder James ran away.
Yeah. Said father when he had looked the engine over very carefully. The children had held their breaths. Okay, so we've got more than James and Phyllis here. It gives me the image.
Yeah, so they're seriously hoping, aren't they? They've got so much hope that their father can fix this engine for them.
Yeah, sort of. I feel like they're going to be devastated if he can't.
Yeah, let's fingers crossed, hey?
Okay, is there no hope? Said Peter in a low, unsteady voice. So he's very concerned about this engine. Hope? Rather, tons of it, said father cheerfully. But it'll want something besides hope. A bit of brazing, say, or some solder and a new valve. I think we'd better keep it for a rainy day. In other words, I'll give up a Saturday afternoon to it, and you shall help me. Okay, so Dad thinks he can fix it with a bit of brazing, solder and a new valve. So that, yeah, we've got this Dad who's very handy if he's got solder and brazing lying around and a valve somewhere.
Maybe he's got a workshop or something in the back garden.
Yeah. And he said he's going to give up a rainy day. So he's going to try and fix it, but when he's got a chance to do it. And I think him telling Peter that he has to help him might be going with the sort of responsibility of, actually, you've broken this, so you also need to learn how to fix this.
Yeah, you need to learn your lesson and stop breaking your toys.
Yeah, I mean, if I was that dad, I'd be very annoyed.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. That is our text for this week. Hopefully that gives you a bit more of an insight into what it is talking about and gives you some of that vocabulary that you need to answer the questions that you have been set. So when you've answered the questions, children, feel free to send in your answers and we can have a look at them. Okay. I don't know how to stop recording now. Stop.